In the previous couple of years, I've been ordering rough cut lumber and spending a lot of time at the shaper and the joiner surfacing the boards. Lately, I've been getting some parallel edge pre-finished lumber for the shop, and I'd like to go over some advantages. Is that this lumber, when it comes in, is ready to be cut on the table saw into my rough or finished sizes for the project. The second advantage of the parallel edge is when I go to measure the width of my board for my parts, I just have to take one measurement. This board is 5.5, and I can set this aside knowing it's 5.5. If I'm cutting stiles and rails for cabinets, I know I can get 2 full rips at 2.25, and I still have an inch piece left over that I can use down the road for scribe molding or whatever I need. On this board here, which is only finished on one edge, I got this from the supplier, and the first thing I notice here is that there's a knot and some grain issues here. The problem with this board is I have to start on this edge. With the new parallel edge boards that I've been receiving, if there is a grain issue on the side of the board, I don't have to go through those steps I mentioned. I can just simply flip the board around on the table saw, and I'm ready to go with that straight edge. So I have the two products here. The one with the straight edge on one side, I have to first measure down the board to see what I can get out of it. On this end, I've got 5 3/8, and if I check this narrow spot, I have 5 1/8. So I know about 5 inches is what I can get out of this board. With the parallel board, I just have to measure it once here, and it's 4 7/8. So I know I'm going to be ripping some stiles and rails for some cabinets at 2.25. So I know I can get my 4.5 out of this board and this board. So on the first set of boards that I ripped, the traditional lumber, I did get my 2 pieces out that I need. I do have some chattering on the edge that I have to deal with and make sure that's not in my product. And I do have this piece of waste left over. On the parallel edge boards, I knew right away I was going to get my 2 pieces out of it, plus the width of my saw blade was going to give me minimum waste left over, and a very clean edge on both rips. So on these next 2 boards, I'm going to rip the same dimension, 2.25 on both boards for my stiles and rails. I know on the parallel edge board, I have a 5.5 inch board here. So I'm going to get a 1 inch piece left over off of this board that is going to be useful for me at the end of the project. On this traditional board, I have 5 3/4 on one end and 5 3/8 on the other end. That last set of boards turned out like I expected. I got my pieces. On the traditional board, I have a piece that goes from about 1 inch to 3/4, and a lot of chatter again on the edge. The new parallel edge board that I've been using, I got my pieces, and I also got a perfect 1 inch square stock piece. This piece over here, I could rip for a molding if I wanted to. I know there's going to be a lot of chatter when I run this through and a lot of wood flying up at my face, and I'm not going to attempt it. It's just not worth it. This board, I am absolutely going to stock this or wait until the end of the project and see if I need a scribe molding. On this project, I do need a 4-inch base on one of the cabinets, so I'm going to cut that out of these two boards. On this new parallel edge board, I already know that I can pick either edge to start with and pick the right grain pattern or surface and get that on that board. This traditional board I have issues with. There is a knot in the grain here that I do not want, so there's an additional step to this board. I have to measure the smallest width along this board, and you'll notice when I cut this, I have to adjust my fence to that width, rip it once, and then flip the board over and use that against my fence to get my 4-inch board. So this will take one additional cut to get my board. So the last set of boards I ripped here with the traditional piece. As you saw, I had an extra step there to create my straight edge that did not have any defects in it. And I was left with my 4-inch baseboard. I was left with a 2.5-inch piece that I can later rip into something usable. And I was once again left with a piece that I don't dare do anything with. The new parallel edge board, basically I got 100% usage out of. I got my 4-inch toe kick and I was left over with a 2 1/4 piece, which I've been ripping the rest of the morning for my stiles and rails.